All right, let's dive in. Today we're going all the way back to 16th century China
Wow, 16th
to
century.
explore the writings of Lu Kun. He
Interesting.
was a scholar and government official who kept this fascinating journal.
Oh, a journal.
Yeah, he called it Words of Groaning.
Words of groaning. That sounds a little bit heavy.
Well, there is a twist here.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So the context is really important. Lu Kun was dealing with some serious health issues throughout his life.
Oh, so not just like a cold.
Yeah, these were chronic illnesses. He was struggling a lot.
So it's like he's writing from a place of real hardship.
Exactly.
So instead of, I don't know, giving up or something, he's reflecting on life.
Yeah, and not just like everyday stuff. He's thinking about human nature, ethics, the pursuit of knowledge.
Deep stuff.
Makes you think about what we do with our downtime.
Right. Like, what if we all used our tough times to reflect so deeply?
That's what's so fascinating about Lu Kun.
Absolutely.
His insights. They're timeless.
I mean, centuries later, and they still resonate.
Yeah, it's like he tapped into something fundamental about being human.
Yeah, something that goes beyond any particular time or culture.
Okay, so let's unpack these words of groaning
Let's hear
and
it.
see what we can learn, right?
All right.
One of the biggies that Lu Kun tackles is human nature.
Big question, right?
Like, are we inherently good or bad?
The classic nature versus nurture debate.
Where does Lu Kun stand on this?
He doesn't really see it as this black and white thing.
Oh. So not just picking a side?
No, he recognized that everyone has a nature.
Like a moral compass.
Right, a sort of inborn sense of right and wrong.
But that's not the whole story, is it?
No, on top of that, there's temperament.
Okay, temperament, so like individual quirks.
Yeah, tendencies, personality stuff.
Okay, so we have this potential for goodness, but it gets filtered.
Yeah, it's filtered through that lens of our personality.
So I'm imagining a spectrum here. Not all saints, but not all devils either.
Exactly. He used this analogy to explain it.
I love a good analogy.
Oh, this one is good. He compares human nature to water and fire.
Okay, water and fire, go on.
So pure water, it's clear, right?
Yeah, crystal clear.
But you mix in some dirt
Uh-oh, mud.
and it becomes murky, right?
Yeah, you can't see through it anymore.
And then fire, pure energy.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
But add wood and what do you get?
Smoke, smoky fire.
So our goodness, that clear water, it can get clouded.
Clouded by the dirt, by those quirks.
Exactly.
So does that mean we're stuck with whatever dirt we have?
Not necessarily. Lu Kun believed in self-cultivation.
Self-cultivation, so like working on ourselves.
Yeah, actively trying to become better.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, he believed stillness was key.
Stillness, you mean like being quiet?
More than that, it's this inner stillness, Jing, he called it.
Jing. Okay, I'm learning new words today.
He saw Jing as super important for moral development, understanding the
But
world.
it's even for managing emotions.
Oh, yeah, big time.
This reminds me of meditation. Was that a thing back then?
Yeah, it was. And he was a big fan.
I can see why finding that stillness in a chaotic world.
Right. He has this great analogy for the still mind, too.
Okay, hit me with it.
A still mind is like a mirror.
Okay, I'm picturing a mirror.
When it's still, perfect reflection.
You see everything clearly.
But then you shake the mirror.
Uh-oh. Blurs.
So distorted, right?
You can't see yourself clearly anymore.
So think about your own life. When you're constantly bombarded with stuff,
Information overload.
distractions, everything.
You're shaking that mirror.
Exactly.
And it gets harder to see clearly, to make good decisions.
That's Lu Kun's point. We need stillness to see things as they are.
To make choices that are truly in line with our best selves.
It's like he predicted our world.
Right. With all the noise and distractions.
Information overload everywhere.
Makes you wonder if he'd even be on social media.
Right. Maybe he'd be the most mindful influencer out there.
Now, he didn't just focus on abstract stuff.
No, he was writing during a time of upheaval.
Oh, so things were pretty intense in China back then.
Yeah, lots of change, uncertainty.
So he was seeing firsthand how relationships could make or break people.
Individuals, families, even whole societies.
Okay, so not just theory. This was real-life stuff.
Drawn from his own experience.
What did he say about all that?
Yeah.
About navigating those complex relationships?
Well, he emphasized three key things: respect, understanding, and fulfilling our roles.
Oh, interesting. So it's about more than just being nice.
Yeah, it's about recognizing the different dynamics.
Okay, so between friends, family, Even rulers, it's all different.
Right. Each has its own set of responsibilities, expectations.
Did he get into specifics at all?
Oh, yeah, he did.
I mean, relationships can be tricky, even with the best intentions.
Right. He had this great analogy.
Another one, I'm ready.
He compared unchecked desires within a family to a small leak in a ship.
Wait, a leaky ship?
Uh-huh.
And families, how are those connected?
He's saying that even a tiny leak can sink a huge ship, right?
Yeah, eventually.
And the same goes for families.
So even small acts of selfishness,
Yeah, those little things where we put ourselves first.
over time, they can do a lot of damage.
Wear down trust, love, the whole foundation.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's not just about avoiding big blow-ups,
It's the everyday choices.
right, where we prioritize the us over the me.
He understood that harmony takes effort, even in families.
Constant effort, it sounds like.
Yeah, and a willingness to think about the whole group,
Okay, so considering everyone's needs,
not just our own desires.
this is making me rethink some things for sure.
Me too. It's always good to check in with ourselves.
What else did he say about those different types of relationships?
He talked about fulfilling our roles.
Like playing our part.
Exactly. Parents provide guidance, children show respect.
Rulers should govern justly,
It's all connected, this reciprocal system.
where everyone's contributing to the overall well-being.
And he didn't see it as just about avoiding conflict.
It's more active than that,
Yeah, it's about actively participating, doing your part.
in a way that benefits everyone involved.
Yeah, so that the whole thing works better.
That makes a lot of sense, whether it's family, friends, even at work.
Absolutely, it's a framework for building strong relationships.
Okay, so we've got relationships.
Check.
What about knowledge? Pursuing knowledge.
Oh, he had a lot to say about that.
Okay, because he was a scholar, right?
Big time advocate for education, exploring ideas.
But there's a catch, I bet.
There is. He had some strong warnings about pursuing knowledge for the wrong reasons.
Wrong reasons. Like what?
He called it empty intellectualism.
Empty intellectualism.
Yeah, it's like you're accumulating facts and theories.
But not really understanding them.
Or applying them. It's all head, no heart.
Oh, I know some people like that.
Right. All talk, no
Yeah,
action.
exactly. So what's the right way to approach knowledge, then?
He believed true knowledge should lead to self-improvement.
Okay, so becoming a better person, not just a smarter person.
And also to a deeper understanding of the universe.
Wow, the universe, that's getting pretty big.
He saw knowledge as this path to understanding our place in it all.
How do we know if we're on the right track with our learning?
He had another great analogy for this.
Lay it on me.
He compared genuine understanding to sunlight and moonlight.
Okay, sunlight, moonlight.
They illuminate the world naturally, right?
Yeah, effortless illumination.
And those who truly understand something,
They radiate that knowledge.
it flows out of them naturally, no forcing it, no showing off,
But if you're pushing your ideas on others,
trying to prove how smart you are.
it's like trying to light up a room with artificial lights,
It takes a lot of effort.
and it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, a little forced, a little fake.
So it's not about dazzling people with what we know.
It's about letting that understanding shine through naturally.
That's a challenge.
It is, but it's worth aiming for.
This makes you really examine your motives for learning, huh?
It does. Why are we learning this? What are we going to do with it?
Big questions.
And it all ties back to this idea he talks about a lot, zong.
Zong, that's a new one.
It means middle way.
Okay, middle way, so finding balance.
Exactly. Avoiding extremes and everything.
So our behavior, our thoughts,
Even our emotions.
that's like walking a tightrope.
Kind of. Staying balanced so you don't fall off either side.
The life's not always a straight line, is it?
No, it's more nuanced than that.
Okay, how so?
He gives these everyday examples.
Oh, I like those.
Like drinking. Don't drink too much.
But don't abstain entirely either.
Right. Find that enjoyable middle ground.
Moderation, like Aristotle.
Exactly.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Where things are in harmony, where it feels right.
Not too much, not too little.
And he applies zong to speaking, too.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Don't be silent, but don't talk too much either.
Or too wildly, I imagine.
Right. Find that appropriate balance.
So it's about finding the right amount
the right approach, the right response.
for each situation.
Wow. He even talks about applying it to our emotions.
Okay, so not being overly emotional.
But also not suppressing everything.
Finding that emotional balance.
That's the key. And it's something we can work on.
So it sounds like Zong is less about rules.
And more about developing this internal compass.
That helps us navigate. Wow.
He saw zong as a key part of living a virtuous life.
So not just living, but living well.
Exactly. And that takes wisdom, discernment.
This is giving me so much to think about.
Me too. It's a whole framework for approaching life,
Not just in 16th century China.
but even today, in our modern world.
And we haven't even gotten to his views on leadership and government yet.
Oh, there's so much more to explore.
This is just the beginning.
Buckle up, we're going deep. Welcome back to our deep dive.
We're still with Lu Kun, exploring his words of droning.
And this time, we're going into his thoughts on leadership and government.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah, especially because he wasn't just theorizing about this stuff.
Right, he was a government official himself.
Exactly, he was living it, navigating the political landscape.
So no ivory tower philosopher here.
Not at all. This was real world experience.
So what did he think made a good leader?
Well, he believed that the ideal ruler should be virtuous.
Virtuous. Okay, so moral character.
Yeah, but also governing with wisdom, compassion.
So a balance, not just being a tough guy,
Not a ruthless dictator.
but also not someone who's easily swayed.
Exactly, finding that middle ground.
Like that Zong concept we talked about.
He saw the ruler's role as a guide, a protector,
Someone who's looking out for the people,
creating conditions where everyone can thrive.
the whole society, not just a select few.
Right, it's not about personal gain.
It's about serving the people.
Making their well-being a priority.
Leadership sounds complicated. Did he have any advice for, actual leaders?
Oh, he did. He emphasized listening
Listening. Okay, that's important.
to diverse perspectives, even those that might be critical.
So being open to feedback, even if it's not what you want to hear.
Exactly. A wise ruler, he said, should be willing to adjust course.
Based on what the people need.
So being in charge doesn't mean you know everything.
Humility, adaptability.
Key qualities for a good leader.
It's like the more power you have, the more humble you should be.
That's a good way to put it.
What else did he caution against for leaders?
Becoming too attached to power
Okay, so not letting it go to your head,
and not using it for personal gain.
because that's the opposite of serving the people.
Exactly. True leadership is about service.
It's almost like that Zong idea applies here too,
Finding that balance between authority and humility.
between using power and serving others.
He understood that even rulers are human.
With those same weaknesses we all have
So no one is above the need for self-reflection.
for moral development,
It's a reminder for all of us, really.
no matter what our position is in life.
We all have work to do on ourselves.
This paints a picture of Lu Kun, not just as a thinker, but as a leader.
A complex individual, for sure.
Was he more of a reclusive scholar?
Or a public figure.
Where did he fall on that spectrum?
Well, from what we know, it seems he was both.
Oh, interesting. How so?
He definitely had that contemplative side.
We see that in his words of groaning.
But he was also actively involved,
In society and government.
engaging in debates, trying to make a difference.
So a doer and a thinker.
A man of action and reflection.
And that takes courage, especially in a time of upheaval.
Absolutely. He wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo,
Or to speak truth to power.
even when it was risky,
It sounds like he was genuinely committed to justice.
and to the well-being of all people.
Now, speaking of challenging conventional wisdom, what about other philosophies?
Did he engage with those?
Because we've been focusing on his Confucian background.
He was definitely rooted in Confucianism.
But did he have blinders on?
Not at all. He was open to ideas from other traditions.
Like Buddhism, Taoism,
He believed truth could be found in many places,
and that's something we could all learn from.
especially today.
When it's so easy to get stuck in our own little bubbles.
Echo chambers, where we only hear what we agree with.
It takes effort to seek out different perspectives.
But it's worth it.
Now, back to his time. It was a period of a lot of turmoil,
Wars, famine, political intrigue,
and we see that reflected in his writing.
the challenges, the uncertainty.
Did he offer any advice for dealing with that kind of stuff?
Because we all face difficulties.
Some more than others.
He talked about resilience.
Okay, so bouncing back from hardship.
More than that, it's about maintaining inner peace.
Even when everything around you is chaotic.
That's tough.
How do you even begin to do that?
He emphasized self-reflection, self-cultivation,
So looking inward to find strength.
understanding your own mind, your motivations.
Because if you're solid within,
the outer storms don't shake you as much.
that's a powerful image.
He also talked about finding meaning and purpose
Something bigger than yourself,
to give you direction, motivation.
especially when things are tough,
It's like that internal compass.
that guides you through the darkness.
He understood that our outer world is often a reflection of our inner world.
So if we cultivate inner peace, we create more harmony around us.
It's a ripple effect,
I love that, and it's something we can all work on.
regardless of our circumstances.
Now, we've talked a lot about his ideas,
We've gone pretty deep.
but I'm still curious about that title. Words of groaning.
Yeah, it seems a bit strange.
Given all the wisdom he had to share.
Why groaning?
What do you think he meant by that?
Well, on one level, it reflects his own suffering.
The chronic illness, the hardship.
His writings talk a lot about pain, loss,
So there's literal groaning there.
but also, I think, a metaphorical groaning.
Like the struggle to make sense of life.
To find meaning amidst suffering.
That resonates with me.
It's like his groaning is an expression of empathy.
For all of us who are hurting,
He's not shying away from the difficulty of life.
he's acknowledging it, but not letting it define him.
And maybe there's another layer to it.
What do you think?
Maybe the groaning also represents the effort.
The struggle involved in pursuing wisdom and virtue, it's not always easy to grow, to become better.
It takes work, dedication,
And sometimes, groaning.
but it's a journey worth taking.
That's inspiring, even though it's a little bit daunting.
It is, but Luke Kun reminds us that we're not alone in that struggle.
And that the rewards are worth it.
Now, shifting gears a bit,
Okay, where are we going now?
Luke Kun also had some interesting views on family life, social dynamics.
Ooh, families.
Yeah.
That's a topic we can all relate to.
And a complex one, for sure.
What does he have to say about that?
Well, he believed the family is the foundation of society.
Like the building blocks?
So strong, harmonious families lead to a strong, harmonious society.
Makes sense. It's where we learn how to interact with each other.
And he had a lot to say about how families should function.
About roles and responsibilities.
Like what makes a family healthy and thriving?
So was it all about tradition?
Following the rules?
Or was there more to it?
Well, he emphasized filial piety.
Okay, filial piety. That's respect for elders.
Parents, grandparents. He saw this as a key moral principle.
The foundation of social harmony.
He also believed in clear hierarchies within the family.
Okay, so parents have authority over children.
Elders over younger generations.
Sounds pretty traditional.
It was, but there's also this emphasis on individual self-cultivation.
So how do those two things balance out?
It's about recognizing that we exist within a web of relationships.
We're not just isolated individuals.
We have obligations to others.
But we also have a responsibility to ourselves.
To grow, to become better.
So it's finding that balance
Between individual fulfillment and social responsibility.
between personal growth and contributing to the well-being of the group.
It's not always easy.
But it's something we can all strive for.
I think that's a really important point.
That our well-being is often tied to the well-being of those around us.
It's a reminder to think beyond ourselves.
To consider the impact of our actions on others.
And to recognize that fulfilling our responsibilities
Can actually be a pathway to personal growth.
it's not just about duty, it's about becoming better people.
This makes me wonder how his ideas about family translate to today's world.
With all the different family structures.
And evolving social norms. It's a good question to ponder.
It is, but I think there's still valuable insights there.
Like the emphasis on strong family bonds.
On mutual support.
Those things transcend time and culture.
Absolutely, they're essential for human flourishing.
Now, we've talked about family.
Relationships, leadership.
What about ethics, right and wrong?
Oh, he had some fascinating things to say about that.
I bet it's not just about following the rules.
It's not. He believed true morality is about cultivating an inner compass.
Okay, an inner compass. So what guides that?
Well, he believed studying the wisdom of the sages was essential.
So reading the classics, reflecting on their teachings.
He saw those texts as offering a roadmap for moral cultivation.
Helping us develop that ethical discernment.
And he also emphasized self-reflection.
Examining our own motives, our intentions.
To make sure our actions are aligned with our values.
That's deep. It's not just about doing what we're told.
It's about aligning our actions with our deepest beliefs.
Living with integrity, compassion.
Doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Not because we expect a reward.
It's challenging, but inspiring.
It reminds us that we're capable of greatness.
Even in our imperfection.
Even in our struggles.
He calls us to a higher standard.
To strive for something more.
To live meaningful, ethical lives.
Yeah, I think that's a message we all need to hear.
Now, we've covered a lot today.
This has been a whirlwind tour through Luke Kun's mind.
And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
I agree, there's so much more to explore.
Before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay, I'm ready for the grand finale.
let's take a moment to reflect on what stood out for us.
From Luke Kun's Words of Groaning.
And what lessons we can carry with us into our own lives.
Okay, so we're back. We've journeyed through Luke Kun's Words of Groaning.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And I have to say, I'm pretty blown away by his insights.
Me too. He was a deep thinker, that's for sure.
It's incredible how relevant his ideas still feel today.
Centuries later, and they still resonate.
So before we wrap things up,
Let's do a little reflection.
what stood out to you the most from everything we've discussed?
What really resonated?
Honestly, there's so much to choose from.
It's hard to pick just one thing.
But for me, it's that idea of finding meaning and purpose
Yeah, that's a big one.
through self-cultivation
Working on ourselves, becoming better,
and aligning ourselves with the Tao.
that natural order of the universe.
It's not about worldly success or chasing after pleasure,
It's about something deeper.
more intrinsic, more aligned with who we really are.
That's one of the core principles of his philosophy, for sure.
True happiness comes from within.
From living in harmony with our true nature,
It's like all those self-help books and podcasts.
finding your calling, living your best life.
But these ideas are ancient.
Timeless, really.
It's about tapping into something fundamental about being human
And Lu Kun offers a path to do that.
through self-cultivation, inner harmony.
Did he give any specific practices for that?
For personal growth,
He talked about meditation, contemplation,
taking time for reflection.
quieting the mind
It's like creating space for stillness,
in the midst of all the busyness,
to connect with that inner wisdom.
to cultivate the qualities that lead to a better life.
And he didn't just focus on the inner stuff.
He also talked about living virtuously.
Compassion, honesty, integrity. So it's not just about meditating on a mountaintop.
It's about bringing those qualities into everyday life.
Into our actions, our interactions with others.
It's an ongoing process,
Self-cultivation, it's a journey.
not a destination.
I'm realizing how much I still have to learn.
Me too. It's a lifelong process.
Lu Kun really covered a lot, didn't he?
Human nature, relationships, leadership.
Ethics, family, the pursuit of knowledge.
He was a true polymath.
And it's even more impressive considering his circumstances.
Right. He was dealing with so much hardship.
Chronic illness, pain, struggle.
Yet he still found the strength to reflect.
To find meaning, to offer guidance.
His story is inspiring.
It's a reminder that we can all grow and transform.
Even in the face of adversity.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Lu Kun's world,
I hope you've been as inspired as we have.
remember his words of groaning:
They're a testament to the power of the human spirit,
to find meaning and purpose.
even in the most difficult circumstances.
Thanks for joining us on this journey,
And until next time, keep exploring, keep reflecting.
and keep cultivating that inner wisdom
That guides us towards a better life.
for ourselves and for the world around us.